Hello and welcome back to the 5th video tutorial in this 10-part video tutorial series on creating an e-commerce site using Drupal and Ubercart. I am Peter Yaworski, the Toronto website developer specializing in Drupal, and this video tutorial series is brought to you in collaboration between myself and the Ubercart.org guys. They came to me and suggested the tutorial series, and I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. So that said, in our first video tutorial, we went ahead, we set up our web server, we set up Drupal, we got it installed. Second video tutorial, we took a look at some common Drupal terminology, nodes, modules, themes, whatnot. Third video tutorial, we downloaded our modules, installed them, and started configuring them in the fourth video tutorial. So in this video tutorial, we're going to actually specifically look at the Ubercart module, or rather a collection of modules, and begin configuring those. So there's quite a bit to do, so we're actually going to split this over two video tutorials. First one's going to look at actually configuring the store. Second one's going to look at payments and shipping specifically. So we'll walk through some of the stuff, but not everything. A lot to cover, so I'm going to try to breeze through it. So hopefully if you have any questions or you're not following, just pause the video, take a moment, take a look at what we're doing, and then always replay it. I get a lot of comments that the speed is great. People prefer being able to pause video tutorials to figure out what's going on. So that said, let's dive right into it. So I'm on my Ubercart site. We've been using it, uc.torontowebsitedeveloper.com, and you'll see my common dashboard up here. When we install Ubercart, what we get is an actual store or admin/store specific URL for our site. And from here is where we can actually access all the different modules that we've enabled with Ubercart. So we enable orders, products, whatnot. So just walking through some of these, the orders is where you would actually administer where your orders come from. So we'll come back to this in later video tutorials once we actually set up some orders. Right now this would all be blank. The one thing to note is you can actually administratively create orders. So just briefly we'll check this out. You can see that you can no customer account could be required, so you go ahead and you create your order, and then administratively you would fill in all this information. This might happen to be, let's say you're running your e-commerce site as your actual physical stock management, store management, and maybe you're taking orders from outside. You want to make sure that it's all in one database. Here's the way to do that. So in terms of the second link, you have your customers. So as people sign up and register, you'll have their names and that kind of thing. So you can identify them as customers. Again, brand new sites, we don't have that. We'll come back to that later. Products. Interesting thing here about products. What we're going to actually do is look at the attributes first and foremost. So when we're creating our products, let's say this is a clothing store, we can actually add attributes. And again, we'll be coming back to this, but we can call this, color, let's say, right? So color, we go ahead and, this is what users will see. A select box, we go ahead and we submit, and then we can actually add options for it. So here we have red, right? I'll show you some default adjustments, gray, and let's say black, right? So we could have shirts that come in all these different colors and we can identify that. So that's a neat thing about attributes. If something costs more, so if we were doing sizing, which we'll add later, we can identify the price as being an extra $2, $3 if it's a double XL, let's say. I've had a couple customers have to do that. So those are attributes. Classes is an interesting thing. I actually haven't used classes out of habit from Drupal 6. And the reason why I didn't do that was because there used to be a module, well, there still is a module called Node Import. So if you're using Drupal 6 or you have e-commerce sites for Drupal 6, Node Import would allow you to take a spreadsheet of thousands of products and import them programmatically rather than one by one creating them. However, this didn't work at the time when I started using the module with classes. So what a class is let's say you have your file downloads. You want to create that as a specific product type, and then you have clothing. So you want to create that as a specific product type. Those would be different classes. If you wanted to do memberships, I can't remember if memberships, file downloads. All those things could be different classes. So I've always stayed away from this, but this is how you would create them. So just think of them as different product types. best way to think about it. In Drupal 7, it's actually beyond the scope of this video tutorial. Maybe we'll do it as a bonus. But Drupal 7, you can use the feeds module to actually programmatically import, thousands of products if you wanted to, or hundreds of products, whatnot. I don't know if it plays friendly with classes. Maybe that's a topic for a future video tutorial. I don't know. If you're interested in that, shoot me a comment. Visit TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com and leave a comment. Let me know if that's something that interests you. So file downloads, just briefly here, you can see this is where we can upload files specifically for download. We're not going to do this yet because we still have to configure kind of our settings for this. Right now you'll see it only allows us to put it in the root directory, so we have to configure that. So the meat of this video tutorial is going to be this configuration tab, and we're going to walk through each of these sections and kind of show you the different things that you need to know about. So first and foremost, you have your basic information for your store, right? So this is my store name. This can be whatever you want. Store owner, these are used in different places throughout your e-commerce site, so typically through your emails and that kind of thing. So you can add a store owner. Your email address, this gets populated from your actual site information, right? And so you'll see it in the from line, and then if you have a phone number, fax machine, and if you have a help page. So one of the good things I would highly recommend is, if you get some frequently asked questions about your e-commerce stuff, you can add a specific page. So, we would go up, we go add a content, add a basic page, that would be help, and then we put this as /help, and then users can see those frequently asked questions. Again, always good to make sure your users have the best experience on your site. The store address. So this is if you're shipping physical products, you'll want to add this in when we set up UPS, which we'll be doing in future video tutorials. It will pull this information in, so you want to make sure that that's set correctly. The currency format. One thing I'll note for you here, default currency set to USD. I one time ran into an issue setting up an e-commerce site for a client, and I kept getting these bounce backs from UPS, and they kept saying, all these errors, and I didn't really know what was going on. I realized the default currency was set to USD, but then I had configured UPS, or the UPS account was configured to Canadian dollars. So there was a mix mash, and I kept getting errors back, and that was the reason. So just be careful with your default currency. It shows up in odd places, so you want to make sure that that corresponds to the rest of your site and what you're actually doing with third parties like UPS, your payment processing and whatnot. In terms of weight format, again, you have the option to go to kilograms, pounds, whatnot, depending upon what you're shipping. These are all specific to your site, so I'll leave them. I won't walk you through them, but just be aware that they're there. The display settings, primary customer or address, billing. I point this out in the event that maybe you're just selling memberships on your site or just selling downloads. You don't actually need to use shipping, so you can get rid of the shipping and just keep billing just so that they're there. And again, if you want to support Ubercart, Drupal on your site, make sure people know what you're using. You can always put in your footer messages. So got my power by Ubercart, which will be added, and then your report settings. We'll take a look at these a little bit later once we actually have some products and some sales and that kind of thing. But here, your report statuses are what's going to inform that. So I just want to see completed when people have actually paid and I have a completed order. So saving configuration because I changed the display settings. And that's kind of the first store setting. Next, let's take a look at cart. So first and foremost, want to make sure that a user gets a message when they actually add a specific item to their cart. And here you can actually change what the URL is for your cart. I'm going to leave it as cart just because it makes most sense. And then again, you can add some panes, so we can add the shipping quotes if we wanted to here, but I don't really want that. So cart lifetime. What you want to notice here is your anonymous users. So anonymous users can leave, come back. Obviously, we'll be using cookies, or Ubercart uses cookies. So knowing that they have their cart set for 4 hours, so they can always come back within those 4 hours and it'll still be there. The authenticated users, a little bit longer of a time, right? Because we want them to come and go as they please, and they'll have their cart. So you can change this to kind of whatever you want specific to your site. Continuous shopping element. Again, once we get some products set up, you'll see this. You can have a text link, a button, or do not display. So this is when you're on your cart actual page. You'll see if you have your product listed there, you can always go back and continue shopping, right? And so here's the option to actually make them go back to the product they just added, or if you want to have them go back maybe to the original store, you can add that here, and again, customize the shopping text. The breadcrumb, if you're using breadcrumbs on your site, here's where you can actually customize that, so just be aware of that. Again, I don't really care. Cart links are actually pretty cool. So I haven't used cart links too much, and actually going into them in this video tutorial would be a little bit of overkill. So maybe we'll do this as a bonus if people are interested. Again, shoot me a comment, email, let me know. What cart links allow you to do is actually, I guess it's best to explain looking at the help page. So what you can do is you can create these cart/ad/ and then provide a bunch of information. And so if let's say you're talking in a blog post, maybe reviewing your own product, telling people why your product is amazing, you can then at the bottom say, here's a link to buy it now, right? And so add that right away and then make it look pretty with CSS. Or if you're doing affiliate, you can give people, here's my add to cart link, and then they can specifically add that from their site, and then you can track it where they're coming from. They're pretty versatile, so you can actually add the product, but you can set the ID of the actual cart length, right? So that's where you're kind of getting into, cart link, getting into some affiliate links, but also kind of what message you're going to display to users, right? And so that's where we were here. When you're getting messages, you can actually specifically identify those. But then you can also add attributes, right? So down below here, and really get some crazy stuff. So this is pretty powerful if you're going to create a versatile site. Again, because of that, it's a little bit outside of the scope of this video tutorial series, but I wanted to make sure you are aware of these cart links and how to use them and why they're effective. So again, the reason why this page is here is just because you can modify your messages and your cart link restrictions and that kind of thing. So going back, we've got our catalog. Catalog's interesting. You can use table grids, but then you can even go further because it's based on a view and go and edit the catalog display. And so again, we set up views or we enabled views in our previous video tutorial. We didn't actually go through it, but views is a powerful module, and it's pretty much used on every video or every Drupal site that I've ever used. I think there's 400,000 reported usage, and that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. But again, you'll see here how your catalog is set up. So once we actually start adding products, we'll come back to this. But here's how you would customize it if you want to get ahead of the ball game. So next, we'll just check the checkout. Yes, checkout. So basic settings, we're going to enable the checkout, right? Because we want people to be able to purchase our products. So the panes here, what these refer to is on our checkout pane, our actual cart. When we go to checkout, you'll see that all of these are specifically available. So if you wanted to not maybe calculate the shipping cost because you're only doing e-products, like rolls or books or that kind of thing, you can remove that. You can remove billing information, but we're going to use both of those because we'll be setting up physical as well as electronic properties. So again, here, if you want to hide delivery when no carts or no shippable items are available, you can do that. And you can also use next buttons for each one of these. Next buttons are a little bit nicer and make things cleaner, but I wouldn't recommend them if you have a lot of steps. It just gets tedious. So for anonymous checkout, here's how you can configure your page for when non-registered users are buying products. So again, you can enable anonymous checkout right away. You can also allow anonymous users to use an existing account email address. So this just would happen if you didn't want users to have to log in to their account before making a purchase. They can just enter in their email address and then it's associated. Again, option to require email confirmation. Just want to make sure bots aren't buying products, and allow new customers to specify a username and password. This allows them to create their username and password when they actually create their product. So they'll be creating an account. This isn't just developed for them. Again, we're going to be sending emails to new users with their account details, so we have that checked off. And then we just want to make sure that new users are logged in after their checkout so they can see their order status and know what's going on. And then, again, we want to make sure that their accounts are active if we're going to log them in, so that's why we're doing that. Customer information page. This just pertains to if you're going to allow them to create new accounts. It's right there. They get the information about what's going on. So you can modify this specifically for your site. The payment method pane, right? So just showing the total. Instruction methods, again, these are site specific, so you can always set them up, just showing you that they're here, as well as the completion, kind of what's going on, as well as what the emails are going to be for when these users finish their products. or I'm sorry, these aren't the emails. These are for when, so a new user gets logged in, they'll see a message at the top that talks to them, as well as existing users. Once they've actually submitted an order, they'll get a specific message. So you can customize all of that for your users. One thing to note here is there are rules specific to checkout. So you'll see here, these are the 3 rules. There's actually a whole bunch that Ubercart creates, but these are specific. So yeah, you see your admin gets an email notification for when someone checks out. You can edit that if you wanted to say maybe it's your admin you want them to get, but you also have your order entry department that you want to receive that. So you can add an action and then specifically enter in a new email address. Beyond the scope of this video tutorial series, but I just wanted you to be aware that you can do that. Again, if you're interested in any of this stuff, please leave a comment. Let me know for future video tutorials. We can go in depth. So that's kind of the checkout. Countries and addresses, just briefly going to check this out. So you'll see here by default got Canada and US enabled. So if you wanted to import additional countries, you can do so. Not going to be doing that in this video tutorial, but you'll see here we have specific fields that are set up for our addresses, right? So we can modify these, play with them, rearrange them, make some required, others not. And then in the formats, you'll see that we can specify how an address is specifically defined in our emails and whatnot. So you'll see that US and Canada is a bit different here. So you can always change those depending upon what you are doing site specific. In terms of orders, one thing I'll show you here. So in terms of orders, what this is just a setup for how you see orders and how you allow users to interact with their orders. So again, if a customer has made a purchase, they can actually see their order invoices, their history and whatnot. And you can set up on-site invoice templates beyond the scope of this, but pretty neat because you can really customize your store. In terms of the view screen and the edit screen, right? So these are all the different panes that they're going to be able to see. Your customer screen, what they're going to be able to see in terms of comments, that kind of thing. So this is all site specific. I would encourage you to play with this to kind of determine what you need, what you don't need. One thing here is the workflow that we should really keep an eye on because these are all the different states that our order can be in. A lot of these kind of cover off the default that most customers I've ever interacted with have needed. But if you wanted to add a specific order state, you can add that. I actually never have, so I'd be interested to hear what some users are using that for if they are doing it. And you'll see when we actually create orders that you can specify orders to be in different states. So when a user goes to check what's going on with their order, or if they get emailed notified that their order is pending or it's processing or that payment's received, that's what this actually specifically pertains to. The neat thing too is you can actually, when you're creating orders, is add new fields. An example of why you would want to do this is, let's say this e-commerce site complements your actual physical accounting software, and that accounting software has specific order numbers, and you need them to be certain correspondence corresponding to the two databases talking. You can add a new field here that customers can't see. That would be that database legacy database order type. Use some PHP code, add that in. So anyways, I've done that for a specific client. Probably too complicated an example, but just so that you have an idea, if you wanted to add specific fields to your orders, you can go ahead and do that. And then you can also set the display for that, so you can make certain ones hidden. So if you're doing that auto increment specific PO number for a legacy database, you can hide it so that users don't see it. So that's where we are in terms of the order configuration. Payment methods, just briefly touch on this. We're actually going to be setting these up when we're in future video tutorials, probably the next one in video tutorial 6. But we're setting up PayPal, so you'll see that there's PayPal Standards and the PayPal Express Checkout. The difference between those, and you'll see when we configure them, is that PayPal Express Checkout is just a one-click button to pay with PayPal, and then you enter all your information into PayPal, whereas PayPal Payment Standards, you put all your information in on your Drupal site, and then it kicks you over to PayPal to pay. See here in terms of the settings, a little bit different, right? All we have is our email address that's going to be receiving that amount of funding, and whether or not you're live or in Sandbox. Whereas if you're doing the Express Checkout, you're going to have the API password, signature, and a few other things, right? So, but you'll see that in video tutorial 6 when we configure that. Products, going to be the lifeblood of our e-commerce site. A couple of things to set up here. Product image widget. So we set up color box. So when a user clicks on a product, we want them to see a blown up image of that that product. So we're going to use color box to do that, which is nice. You can also add optional quantity fields in the add to cart form. It depends on the site that you're going to use. I usually don't do it. Up to you if you want to. Product kit settings. So we'll be creating some product kits. An example of why we would do this is, let's say you're maybe downloading a video tutorial for my site, hopefully in the future at some point, and it comes with a workbook. So I want to sell you both if you want to do it, and you'll save, I don't know, $10 if you bought the two of them. We can create a product kit, add those two products together because you could buy them individually, and then this is going to control how users actually interact with that product kit. So there are your settings for that. Attribute settings. So remember we talked about attributes, and if we add sizes, that costs an additional $2. We can display the price adjustment or just display the total price. Price adjustment's nice so that they know specifically, oh, this costs an extra $2. Depends on how you want to sell the customer. File download settings. So if you recall, when we were checking out our product configurations there for view file downloads, we only had the root directory accessible. So here we can add in our specific URL. So this should create it based on permissions on my server, let's hope. This warning about purchasing duplicate files. If the user wanted to purchase the same file twice for some reason, they'll get a notification about that. And here we can actually limit the number of times that they download. So, only get 2 downloads, and you can only download twice from the same IP. And then we'll say that, I don't know, the file download is available for only 1 week, right? So it's not available indefinitely. So we can go ahead and save that. Actually should have, yeah. So what we would have to do is, we'll do this in a future video tutorial when we're actually configuring some downloadable files. We should create this actual directory on our web server, and then we'll identify it in the site here. So we'll do that in a future video tutorial. Role assignment. So we're going to be selling roles for our site. So what this is going to be is, let's say you're selling site memberships. You would configure your default role. So again, we'll be doing that in a future video tutorial, but we would go ahead, add our specific roles, right? So what the hell, we'll do it right now. We're going to go ahead and go site member. Let's go ahead and add that role. So now it's created. We would edit our permissions, which we'll do at a later point. So let's go ahead and configure our products. We're going to go to role assignment. You'll now see that site member is available. Product role is associated with site member, right? Our default, what they're actually going to get. So the default role expiration, right, is going to be relative to a purchase date. You can do a fixed date if maybe they're setting up for a class, and that class is a specific date, and then they lose that role ability. I don't know, one example, and then when you want it to expire. So mine's going to expire 1 year relative to the purchase date. And if they want to purchase multiple years, they can go ahead and do that. So I'm also going to give them a reminder, which is nice. So 1 month, make sure that they know. And then the expiration display, right? So this is what they're going to actually see their message when they log in. So let's go ahead and save that. So I know we're moving quick, hopefully not too quick. If you have any questions, reminder, just come to TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com, post a question. You can also go to Ubercart.org. These videos are there as well. Their forums are great. They have an awesome team that's huge for support as well. Always go to Drupal.org/forums, I believe. Post some questions there. A lot of people that are there helping others, and I try to check out those forums every now and then when I get some free time to help people out. Shipping quotes. So again, we're going to configure this after, but we'll actually have UPS set up. Pretty neat. You can get automatic live shipping quotes. So if you are going to be shipping physical products, I recommend that you set up a UPS account because that's what this is going to be based on. Don't think there's anything that we need to show you right now quickly. But again, you can set up the default pickup address, some error messages and whatnot. But we'll be going over this when we actually set them up. We'll actually be setting up flat rate quotes as well as weight quotes. Flat rate quotes and weight quotes. So we'll come back to that. But additionally, you'll see here just quickly, you can actually see the base price, the default shipping price, and whatnot. So we'll get those going in a future video tutorial. So stock notifications. You'll see when we create products, we're actually going to be creating stocks for those products, stock levels. So here, this just enables users or you to get emails when a certain product is reached a certain threshold level. And we can actually set that threshold level per product. So when we create some of those, probably in video tutorial 7, you'll see that. Just a nice feature if you're going to be using your e-commerce site to actually maintain a physical stock. Taxes are the last thing we're going to take a look at. So you can add tax rates, right? So this is Ontario tax if I had to collect it, right? And so we're actually in a PST, HST, right? So 13%. So we're applying it to any product, right? Right. So we're going to apply it just to our products. So the tax line items, this just is what you're going to be specifically applying your tax to. So by default, leave those all checked off, right? Because you're not going to be taxing tax. So if you wanted to show users a final full price, depending upon what you're selling, it might be a good idea. You can include this tax when displaying the actual product prices, right? And then so you'll get some tax inclusion text just so that they know you're paying 13%, or hey, tax is included. This is your final price. Always good to know. So anyways, I've just created this tax rate. So when you're setting up tax, like for the Ontario tax, in most places you'll know that you probably only have to apply a tax if the purchase is being made within that specific area. So I would want to add a condition here that tax only gets applied when somebody's purchasing from Ontario, not if they're purchasing from another province or the United States. So we'll be doing that when we actually configure some products. We'll come back to that. You see here we can kind of get really crazy on some of our stuff. I believe Florida is kind of wild because there's different tax rates for different counties. Dealing with a customer now, and we're trying to set that up. So it's interesting here that you're actually integrating this with the rules. And on that note, just before we finish, I'm just going to show you the workflow rules here. You'll see Ubercart has set up a ton of different rules here. So a lot of them are dealing with emails on different specific areas. So when we're revoking roles, you'll see when we create products. If somebody lets their membership expire, their role is going to be revoked. They're going to get an email. If they renew their roles, they're going to get an email. Granted files, they're going to get an email, right? So a lot of different emails here. A lot of different rules. You can also set up a bunch more. Interesting module that I've come across once or twice. I can't think of what it's called, but it assigns user points. So if users post in a forum, they get certain points. If they make an order, they get certain points. Again, all based on rules. So you can really do some crazy things here. Highly recommend if you're interested in that kind of thing or making an interactive website. It might be called user points. I can't remember what the module is, but if you're interested, shoot me an email, leave a comment, let me know, and I'll get you that information. But that's it for this 5th video tutorial series. We're now halfway through the series, and I hope they're informative. I'm getting a lot of emails asking where the rest of them are, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to do them as quickly as I can. But just to recap, just briefly went through the store configuration. So one thing you want to do is make sure that your store information is all set up to date. Be conscious of what currency you're using. Cart links is a pretty powerful option. I encourage you to read up on that. But beyond that, just some minor configuration things here. We'll kind of get into the meat of file downloads, order processing, payments, shipping, and whatnot in the coming video tutorials. So video tutorial 6 will likely look at payments and shipping, and 7 will be actually where we create our products. So hope you're enjoying the video tutorial series, and we'll see you in the next videos.